Well, I think every animal has as much right to decent treatment as we do.
Yeah.
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak.
Local press caught whiff of a weird one when the vandal shot his paint straight at the cow in the form of words like twat, and later fucknut and arse candle, as the campaign plunged into overdrive. Next came a wave of sick attachments. Cow attached to a filing cabinet, cow attached to a mini-engine in a shopping trolley. What sort of mind would do this? We contacted a huge bank of psychiatrists in the States. They told us the guy's a homo.
So is it any wonder people are afraid of technology?
Technology! Not many cars to nick here, so instead they hijack pedestrians and run them around at terrifying leg speeds. It's called git surfing. All too often, the git is one of their own mothers.
Why can we no longer think of the British Isles without the word pedof in front of them? Drugs need you.
And here at Thaxted School, they can score pure cure.
If you take the U out of drugs, what have you got? Drugs. Ever heard anyone get addicted to drugs? People say cocaine is fun.
First, an information rush. Kids see what comes out when a cokehead blows its nose.
How funny is that?
Often on a napkin from a knob's restaurant.
That man is lying on his back thinking, where in shitting crikey is my nose? It's in a jar, mate.
On board Gemini, John Young raped and ate alive 2 experimental monkeys.
Oh, yeah? In 1993, the council gave them a football.
Good, but not enough.
Despite his criminal mind, this man is behaving well. His reward is the canoe. This time he can sit in the canoe for up to an hour.
Pipe-to-pipe bushman, code for 2 paedophiles having sex with each other while watching children from a shrub.
DBL means dusky blonde Lulu, and that's a male paedophile disguised as a lion.
Baltimora, this means literally, I'm running at them now with my trousers down.
This man is using clapping to describe a 6-year-old child alone in a department store while her mother is distracted using a mobile telephone. Other paedophiles in the area can now take advantage of this child by using this method of communication.
In Holland, they've halved the crime rate by legalising murder with the introduction of slaughter cafes. We're after your help too. Security footage of a paedophile disguised as a school. He's been getting away with it in Sheffield for 12 years. Do you know him? Have you seen him? Please call.
Yes, we must catch that man. He really is a shit.
He never left because he kept failing release tests. Like hundreds of others, he remained in chokey, even though the offences were small and twatty.
When I was 7, I got dressed up as a little city gent and walked into the Bank of England shouting, "Fuck the pound."
You're not going to get away with this.
Oh, yeah.
It's not cool to be weird.
I think the thing that people get fussed about is that a fox is a small brown furry animal, very much like a dog. I don't think they'd be nearly so worried if it was a little 4-legged car full of chips.
1 in 3 15-year-olds really on drugs? No, we proved it in tests.
To preserve the anonymity of our 15-year-old volunteers, we replaced each of them with 3 5-year-olds, and not one had even heard of drugs, let alone smoked one off. The biggest problem of all is the law. It is legal to carry drugs if you're not actually touching them. These men avoid contact by using helium balloons attached to little drug baskets. It's also legal to buy and sell drugs if you do it through a mandrill. Typically, mandrills work at night, approaching the house of a client with a drug pouch and returning with the money. Mandrills are intelligent and vicious, capable of throwing a 12-stone man over 40 feet. But mandrills have been protected by law ever since Queen Elizabeth I gave birth to a child resembling a mandrill by mistake.
But what about other people, less stable, less educated, less middle class than me? Builders, or blacks, for example. If you're one of those, my advice to you is leave well alone. Good luck.
The orgy of sly-winking usury was only brought to an end by a stairwell nonce bashing, which left North brain dead and quadraspazzed on a life glug. Last month, the notorious paedophile Sidney Cook was blasted into space to spend the rest of his life aboard a one-man prison vessel, posing no further threat to children on Earth. But it was revealed that an 8-year-old boy was also placed on board by mistake and is now trapped alone in space with the monster. A spokesman said, "This is the one thing we didn't want to happen."
And sadly, crime experts predict that one day, even friendly conversation between mother and daughter will be conducted at gunpoint.
I tried to kill myself with a lawnmower.
Institutional paedophilia spreads wide rife.
So what measures did you take to ensure this man wouldn't offend again?
We invited a 10-year-old boy into the room and we asked the man, "Are you attracted to this boy?" And he said no.
And you believed him?
Yes.
Even though on that occasion he put his hand down the boy's trousers?
He was trying to save the boy from a fly.
The deal that I specifically struck was to grow 150 lips on my chest.
For
£6 a lip.
They'll even do you a deal on the phone. I'm out of wampum. I spazzed it all on a horse. I was offered 500 quid to grow a stomach full of shoulders. It could have been worse.
This recent experiment into quadriplegia produced results that disturb.
We collected together a group of disabled people and placed various household objects around, some with quite tempting aromas. For example, we placed a cup of Bovril in front of one of them. What we found was that they would lunge secretly for the Bovril and quaff it. I think that they're not disabled at all. I think they're just incredibly lazy people.
So much for recorded crimes, but crimes we know nothing about are going up as well.
Up next, a new scheme for young offenders.
Take the cashback scheme that they're going to try in Toxteth, where young offenders are on a 14-week sentence. Costs about £2 a week to keep them in. So rather than spend 28 grand and keep them inside, they give them 25 grand and say, here you are, use that for a positive reason.
I think it's a smashing idea.
Gibbons.
Ex-civil servant Foster Pan purchased over 1,000 animals to work in Westminster.
Michael Heseltine finds it very useful, if he's angry, to have an ape to slap. Kenneth Clark has a baby moose in a cupboard.
The most commonly used animals are zebras, hurrying between offices with documents pinned to their bodies.
Tony Benn had a tapir in the 70s that used...
2 weeks ago, they read about Carla, an East German elephant who'd been so upset by captivity, she'd stuck her trunk in her anus.
You can kill an otter in about a second. Let's kick his face off.
Perhaps the most disturbing effect is the disruption of rivers. This is footage of the River Euphrates flowing backwards. It looks like it's flowing forwards, but only because we've reversed the film.
If you take a seal and hit it very hard in the face every day for 6 weeks, you may turn it into a rather fetching hat.
In the last century, it was quite acceptable for a young gentleman to lose his virginity to one of London's many whore dogs. Dickens and Prince Albert both boasted of their experience.
You have to bite. Yeah, but I don't want my arms to feel like a couple of fortnights in a bad balloon. Well, the way ahead's obviously through compromise. Next month sees the introduction of new regulations for slaughterhouses. How are these going to work?
Oh, yes, well, we kill 400 cows a week, and to redress the balance to some extent, we'll be slaughtering one member of our staff every 6 weeks, approximately.
And that's because here, every week, beer users gather to watch large men fight with weasels.
The fox feels nothing. It's made of string.
And a self-confessed paedophile is confronted with what he is.
You are a paedophile. You are a nonce. You are a perv. You're a slop badger. You're a two-pin din plug. You're a bush dodger. You're a small beam regarder. You're an Unabummer. You're a nut administrator. You're a bent ref. You're the crazy world of Arthur Brown. You're a fence foal. You're a free willy. You're a chimney bottler. You're a bunty man. You're a shrub rocketeer.
Yes, well, you know, you just mentioned some of the names that we have to put up with every day, and it's just another form of racism.
Judas, you plan to betray me.
Jez North is released tomorrow. Can we be sure that pervert mechanics haven't built him one of these?
Of course we can't. which is why your children could very soon be splatted by a roboplegic wrongcock.
Now that is scientific fact. There's no real evidence for it, but it is scientific fact.
Please can I have sex with this 3-year-old girl now that she's 21?
No way.
The only real difficulty I had was trying to haul a basking shark up the Thames for Jack Ashley. It didn't really work out. It died after about 3 days being tethered to the terrace. Jack was quite unpopular after that for a while.
A paedophile was attacked in his car this evening, but I have to say, if your surname was File, would you call your son Peter?
No.
And look, in the 1950s, a national questionnaire explained exactly what a paedophile was. Each man in Britain was asked if he thought he was one. 92% said yes. What's for pudding? Disturbing developments in embryo research.
The effects of a heroin overdose are lethal. Yes, in the short term, but there's been absolutely no research into the long-term effects.
In June this year, the same men isolated and blew up a fortnight.
How on earth can you justify this? And has anybody ever come up with a reasonable argument for this?
A school tour for the Oxford Don who believes all animals are vegetarian.
Now, what do crocodiles eat? Natalie?
Other animals.
No, they eat grass.
Now, why are no paedophiles black? UK used to mean United Kingdom, but ask anyone today and they'll tell you it stands for Unbelievable Crime Wave.
No one is safe. By the end of tomorrow, one or all of these people may have been set on fire, bum-raped or burgled senseless by Britain's marauding criminals. This month, police pictures showed another estate in Manchester turning itself into a gun.
And if you're sick on this stuff, you can puke your fucking self to death. One girl threw up her own pelvis bone before she snuffed the lid. What a fucking disgrace.
The Home Secretary scores repeated own goals. Over 1,200 convicts were released last month after lying to the Home Office about how long they'd been inside. And just 2 days ago, it was revealed that convicts in Dartmoor prison had been running an international airport for over 14 years.
I am not an expert on air traffic control. I thought they were landing nearby, but not in my prison.
Moments later, 3 kids had broken in. Kerry was dressed as an angel. He woke the old man up and told him he was dead and must go outside and bury himself.
He ran out of the room. Kerry and me just were rolling about on the floor in hysterics.
Sainsbury would definitely be Costa del Blowfly if the cops hadn't seen his body by chance while they were tracking a man who'd buggered a heron. Kids burst shops by filling them with rice and pouring in water, then standing back and laughing while the bricks are ripped apart by the swelling food.
Well, maybe 200, 300 in the congregation. I got up in front of them and I said, anybody here who's got a gun can leave now. 10 minutes later, 3 people are left, 2 kids and a deaf guy.
You were shot by a minister with a gun.
That's right.
Okay, you were shot by this minister with a gun.
Oh.
This is Pat Ritzel, the man who shot us at the wedding. Okay, now you haven't seen, I know you haven't seen him for 6 weeks, not since he shot you. Just react.
What the hell are you doing?
Look, you moved funny, I had to shoot.
What do you mean I moved funny? I was standing in a church
You
at a
look like
wedding.
a criminal.
What do you mean I look like
Those
a
hairy
criminal?
arms, you could be a man in a dress.
Right, you, I'm gonna get you.
Frenzy.
You need to find
Put that gun down. Pouch the piece. Someone could get shot here. Someone could get shot. Pouch that piece, Padre.
Hey, where you going? 2 priests left the show in a tank, shooting as they went. So, as the AMU missionaries get trigger holy, Sunday turns to gun day, and America awaits the blast judgment.
This is Albertson, Quarter 5 for 10 and Brass Eye.
What is the relationship between crime and race? Using makeup sticks, we transformed our white reporter, Tras Dupre, into a black man to see if the law would treat him any differently. Within 5 minutes, he'd committed a pocket theft, and by mid-afternoon, he was attacking passers-by with violent muggings and fleecing them viciously on the cobbles.
Well, there's the evidence. Mr. Coker, what do you make of that?
Now that I've seen the proof, I apologize to my fellow blacks. I'm sorry.
Mr. Coker, thank you very much.
The new inmates are welcomed on arrival.
You shits up that hill!
And are sent straight to the shaving room. Here, their eyebrows are shaved off, which undermines their self-respect rather well.
How funny is it?
Not so.
Bury the beds.
Match this pillow sheets outside Bury, now!
The men will dig up their bedclothes again this evening and sleep in them, all earthy.
Take a look at this. What is it? Just a hillside? Look again. There's a child there, no more than a blue speck. But the fact is, if you show this picture to a paedophile, they'll actually try and attack it in an attempt to reach the child. That's the sort of warped mindset we're dealing with.
Genetically, paedophiles have more genes in common with crabs than they do with you and me.
That's why my own children are here with me. Good night, children. They're safe tonight. Are yours?
Today, the number of children having sex with adults is beyond belief. If you define a child as anyone under 30, the figure is over 86%. Still in the paddock, the web perverts who sell trousers to disguise erections in playgrounds.
I think it's an absolute disgrace that somebody should use the internet to market these Trust Me trousers. It makes it very difficult legally to try and pin them with the offence because it covers the fact that they're stimulated in the groin area.
But even in prison, North's rastopedic impulses found new outlets.
How brazen and shameless is the modern paedophile? Well, take a look at this card here. What sort of sick individual puts things like this up in a telephone box? What sort of thing was going through his mind?
Get me out of here!
Just a second. I'm sorry, but we've been invaded by members of the militant paedophile organisation Millet P. This is their leader, Gerard Choate. Now listen a second. You've broken in here demanding to have your say on live television. Tell us what you believe.
What?
What do you believe?
I believe that intergenerational sex is appropriate within loving...
Sex with children?
Yes.
Stop right there. Come on. Well done, mate. OK. That's my son Johnny, all right? Have a look at him. Now, are you prepared to tell me you want to have sex with my son?
No.
You're ashamed, aren't you?
No, I'm not ashamed.
All right, then tell me you want to have sex with my son.
I don't.
Why not?
I don't fancy him.
What do you mean?
I just don't. I don't find him attractive, I'm sorry.
Good. Actually, you're prepared to tell the father of a 6-year-old that you want to have sex with him on live television.
I didn't.
Yeah, effectively, you did.
You did.
He did, Swan Cheetah. He did, didn't he?
Yes, I mean, that is just so...
Yeah.
I didn't.
You did.
On. Minutes earlier, a test projectile believed to be a side of beef cleared the parapets by a full 20 feet. But when the man himself was fired, his trajectory was all out of goose. He thumped into the wall, you could hear his bones breaking on impact. Medics say he may live, but only with his neck as an internal organ. Out of the back here, it didn't work. Crowd set upon the transporter. One man ended up platted round the axle. They ripped North out of the back. And at that point, we became ominously aware of a 25-foot wicker phallus. Seconds later, North was ablaze. Sheets of flame dancing to the beat of primitive animal justice. One man kebabbed, hundreds scarred forever by a shared blood ritual. And yet, an astonishing sense of community here now, a positive atmosphere, a sense of a job well done, a shared sigh of relief, very much like the bizarre euphoria at the end of an hour's vomiting. Chris.
Austin Tasseltine broke into a playground and started bothering the children. Tonight on Brass Eye, animals. Are we too nice or too nasty?
During the Blitz, when many clocks were destroyed, Londoners could tell the time by watching a dog throw itself off a high board, which it did precisely every 60 seconds, 24 hours a day for over 8 months.
So far, do we have it right or wrong? Let's have a look at the answer, Prancer. Thanks.
Why wildlife documentaries are often misleading.
There is some very famous footage of a lion killing a wildebeest.
How do you explain that?
The lion may have been chasing the wildebeest. In fact, it was chasing it to catch up with it, to give it a potato.
Organ precursor cells are the starting points for every different part of the body, but they can be chemically switched so they can all make the same part. Our undercover crew was shown this tragic case. A woman had given birth to a 2-foot testicle. The gland was alive when we saw it and being kept warm in a cot.
Of course, some people say it would be vulnerable in a strong wind. But for goodness sake, who's to say there's going to be a strong wind?
Monster, why have you messed these people up? You preyed on losers
You
here.
stinking
Dr. Spofford, you're preying on losers.
Yes, the personal organizer revealed a chain of rich clients for organs and limbs. Donald Trump has received over 7 feet of new tongue. Even Saddam Hussein has an access. He's obsessed with having white ladies' wrists. We also discovered this man is incubating over 700 livers. Peeps may have scarpered, but they forgot the golden rule. If you're gonna jerk with brass eye, don't leave your Ponzi drop-top roller skate parked outside.
Look at the sky. Doesn't look like it's full of problems, does it? But I've worked in weather and I know that it is. I'm not talking about ozone here, I'm talking about clouds, because cloud damage is dramatically on the increase. Due to industrial ultraviolet carbons, true clouds are being replaced by mutant clouds, like Cirrus Sirius, Nimbus, and Altosyphilis. More and more, these are turning upside down and injecting their rain upwards into space. Needless to say, a Nigerian farmer can't exactly go up there and get it back, can he? Tragically, if the water does fall downwards, it can turn into triple water, which separates it into gases as it lands, blasting trees out of the ground and killing monkeys.
The devastating result is that huge masses of heavy electricity start randomly falling out of wires and crashing onto anything below.